Christmas Day in the morning. He woke suddenly and completely. It was 4 o'clock, the hour at which his father had always called him to get up and help with the milking. Strange how the habits of his youth clung to him still. His father had been dead for 30 years, and yet he woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning. He had trained himself to turn over and go to sleep. But this morning, because it was Christmas, he did not try. Yet where was the magic of Christmas now? His own children had grown up and gone. He was left alone with his wife. Yesterday she had said, "Let's not trim the tree until tomorrow, Robert. I'm tired." He had agreed, and so the tree remained out in the back entry. Why did he feel so awake tonight? It was still night, clear and starry. No moon, of course, but the stars were extraordinary. Now that he thought of it, the stars seemed always large and clear before the dawn of Christmas Day. He was 15 years old and still on his father's farm. He loved his father. He had not known it until one day, a few days before Christmas, when he had overheard what his father was saying to his mother. "Mary, I hate to call Rob in the mornings. He's growing so fast, and he needs his sleep. If you could see how he sleeps when I go in to wake him up, I wish I could manage alone." "Well, you can't, Adam." His mother's voice was brisk. "Besides, he isn't a child anymore. It's time he took his turn." "Yes," his father said slowly, "but I sure do hate to wake him." On the night before Christmas that year, when he was 15, he lay for a few minutes thinking about the next day. He wished he had bought a better present for his father. As usual, he had gone to the 10-cent store and bought a tie for his father. It had seemed nice enough until he lay thinking, and then he wished that he had heard his father and mother talking in time for him to save for something better. He lay on his side, his head supported by his elbow, and looked out of his attic window. The stars were bright, much brighter than he ever remembered seeing them, and one star in particular was so bright that he wondered if it were really the Star of Bethlehem. "Dad," he had once asked when he was a little boy, "what is a stable?" "It's just a barn," his father had replied, "like ours." Then Jesus had been born in a barn, and to a barn the shepherd and the wise men had come bringing their Christmas gifts. The thought struck him. Why should he not give his father a special gift too, out there in the barn? He could get up early, earlier than 4 o'clock, and creep into the barn and get all the milking done. He'd do it alone, milk and clean up, and then, when his father went in to start the milking, he'd see it all done. He would know who had done it. He laughed to himself as he gazed at the stars. This was what he would do, and he mustn't sleep too sound. He must have wakened 20 times, scratching a match each time to look at his old watch. Midnight, and 1:30, and then 2 o'clock. At 2:45, he got up and put on his clothes. He crept downstairs, careful of the creaky boards, and let himself out. The big star hung lower over the barn roof, a reddish gold. The cows looked at him, sleepy and surprised. It was early for them too. He smiled, thinking about his father, and milked steadily. The task went more easily than he had ever known it to before. Milking, for once, was not a chore. It was something else, a gift to his father who loved him. He finished. The 2 milk cans were full. He covered them and closed the milk house door carefully, making sure of the latch. He put the stool in its place by the door and hung up the clean milk pail. Then he went out of the barn and barred the door behind him. Back in his room, he had only a minute to pull off his clothes in the darkness and jump into bed, for he heard his father up. "Rob," his father called, "we have to get up, son, even if it is Christmas." "All right," he said sleepily. The door closed and he lay still, laughing to himself. In just a few minutes, his father would know. The minutes were endless. 10, 15. He did not know how many. Then he heard his father's footsteps again. The door opened and he lay still. "Rob?" "Yes, Dad." His father was laughing a queer, sobbing sort of a laugh. "Thought you'd fool me, did you?" His father was standing beside his bed, feeling for him, pulling away the covers. "It's for Christmas, Dad." "Son, thank you. Nobody ever did a nicer thing." "Oh, Dad, I want you to know I love you." He did not know what to say. His heart was bursting with love. "This is the best Christmas gift I ever had, and I'll remember it, son, every year on Christmas morning, so long as I live." Outside the window now, after so many years, once again, the great star slowly sank. He got up, put on his slippers and bathrobe, went softly upstairs to the attic, and found the box of Christmas tree decorations. He took them downstairs into the living room. Then he brought in the tree. It was a little one. He went to his library and fetched the little box that contained his gift to his wife, a star of diamonds, not large, but dainty in design. He tied the gift on the tree and then stood back. It was pretty, very pretty, and she would be surprised. But he was not satisfied. He wanted to tell her how much he loved her. It has been a long time since he had really told her, although he loved her in a special way, much more than he ever had when they were young. It occurred to him suddenly that it was alive, because long ago it had been born in him when he told his father he loved him. That was it. Love alone could waken love. He realized he would give the gift again and again. This morning, he would give it to his beloved wife. He would write it down in a letter for her to read and keep forever. He went to his desk and began his love letter to his wife. "My dearest love,